Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Super exciting topic now. We're a joint webinar between BGL and Xero. So we'll be showing you all things, both BGL and with Xero Practice Manager. So with today's session, it will be recorded. So if you do need to leave at any stage or you miss any parts of it, it will be recorded and all attendees will be sent a link to it, or will it be available on BGL's partner channel on our YouTube site. So all attendees will be in listen-only mode. However, we'd love to hear your questions. So please type them in there in the Q&A panel. We've got Jason from Xero as well, who's happy to answer any questions that you do have. So I'm joined today by Jared Kerr from Xero. So Jared, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a bit, the audience a bit about yourself?
Absolutely, thanks. So hi everyone, my name is Jared. I am an implementation consultant here at Xero. I am based in Sydney, so as you can probably see on screen, working from home, like I would assume the majority of us. I've been with Xero for a little over 4 years now. Started with HubDoc back in Toronto and then moved over to Sydney, working at the partner consulting team. So really excited to go through XPM today. Hopefully answer any questions that you guys have along the way. As mentioned, Jason will be here to help me out as I go through XPM for you guys.
Cool. So thanks, Jared. So our topics for today, so Jared's going to take you through really, I guess, items 1 and 2 there, which is really around best practice of using Xero Practice Manager. So we know a lot of our attendees today are existing users. So I suppose rather than give you a how to use XPM, Jared's going to more give you best practice and how to get the most out of it. Then we'll pass back over to myself, who will take you through the, I guess, BGL and XPM integration. And I'll also show some of the things we've got in the pipeline there as well around that. Then we'll come back to the Q&A at the end and happy to answer any questions that you do have, either regarding XPM, Xero, or BGL. So Jared, I'll pass over to you to take you through the first section.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So I'm just going to share my screen and hopefully everyone can see the XPM dashboard on their side, which we'll just use to go through, as mentioned, a little bit of a demo just to be able to see best practice. So even if you are utilizing XPM today, it'll just be a really great way to see how we would typically recommend to utilize XPM, and hopefully you can pick up a few tips and tricks along the way. But I'll also be mentioning a lot of tips and tricks that will be helpful beyond that as well. So we'll go through a single job workflow today in XPM. And for those of you that might be new to utilizing XPM, I have it open here in a Google Chrome browser. So for myself, I can utilize this working from home in the office as a staff member, really easily accessible, regardless of where I might be working. Now XPM, I'll refer to it as that throughout today's webinar, is Xero Practice Manager, and it is a workflow management tool. So it's for accounting and bookkeeping firms. It also directly integrates with Xero. So it really helps increase efficiency, reducing you spending time on administrative tasks like preparing invoices. Now, when I first log into XPM, as a staff member, I am greeted with this dashboard that we see on screen. So we can see here, I am Jared Kerr, the staff member of Bondi Blue Consulting. And I see an overview of how I'm doing for the week with my time summary, which directly correlates to our productivity wheel on the right, and a 2-week rolling calendar of our important dates below, which essentially is the work that I have on and recommended time frame of when I should complete tasks, or milestones as we call them. And we'll come back to that throughout today's demonstration. Now, with the time summary, as I enter time in, this will appear either in yellow, which is our capacity reducing time, which might be like a day of annual leave that I took on Monday. We have red, which is our non-billable time, typically internal admin, business development, whatever that may be. But then we also have our green time, which is our billable time. So we'll definitely want to see a little bit more of that as we get throughout the week, but it's essentially the time towards our jobs that we've been allocated to. Now from the dashboard, I am just going to navigate into the Clients tab to be able to go through the list of clients that we work with at our practice. Now, what we see on screen here, this is our single source of truth. So all of the clients that we work with are listed here in XPM. And if you don't currently have your list of clients in XPM and you would like to transfer this across from your existing practice management software, I do recommend to speak with your account manager. We do have the ability to help migrate your client list into XPM, including front cover information for tax return purposes, so that you don't necessarily need to migrate that yourself. So definitely speak with your account manager about the options that might be available for you. Now, one of the first tips that I do want to highlight today is the ability to add filtering to this client list. So you can see I have a little over 300 clients. I can obviously search through, use the page to go through from client to client, but what's going to save me a lot of time is adding filters from the drop down here if you haven't done so already, and being able to segment your clients based on specific parameters. So we can see here, I've already done so. I can see a list of my individual clients. I can see a list of my super fund clients that we work with at the practice, but then as well, I can see clients that fall under myself as the manager. So really easy to set these up. They are on a staff by staff basis. So just make sure that if you do want your entire team to have similar filters, that you provide the parameters for them to be able to create as well. Now from here, we'll navigate to the client record. We'll work with JK Superannuation Fund today. And within the client record, what we see is really a great overview of our relationship with the client. So this includes our debtor, WIP information that we see here at the top, but we also have quick links into any of the records associated with this client under the respective tabs here at the top. Now, before we dive into the job that we're going to create for this client today, another tip that I would recommend possibly taking a look at if you haven't been utilizing already is the ability to track leads through XPM. Now you can find this just under the business tab here at the top. We have the lead manager available, and essentially it helps you track potential new business for your practice to help convert them to sales. So this is free for silver partners and above. And to enter a lead, I'm just going to click new lead here in the top left. And we can either select an existing client or create a new prospect. Now I'm going to use the client we're working with today, JK Superannuation Fund. And essentially we're already doing work for them, but there is an opportunity to start completing more of their super fund compliance work. And we would essentially choose that as a template from the drop down. Now these templates, it's a list of templates which allow us to really standardize the process of contacting and qualifying our leads. And for today's purpose, I am just going to select the annual tax compliance template. However, you can obviously set up one specific to Superfund compliance to be able to track those as well. Now I'm just going to put in an estimated value, attach it to a category. So I can see if this does close, I can track it to that specific service arm within our practice. Now, when I go ahead and save this lead, we can scroll down, and on that 2-week rolling calendar, we see the specific milestones, which might be those tasks to complete in order to try and close this business. So once we go ahead, give the client a call, issue an engagement letter, we can get started on the work. Now, we know that this client is happy to go ahead with the Superfund compliance work that we're going to begin completing for them. So in this example, I can go ahead and issue a new quote. Now, when I issue a new quote, what we'll also have the option to do is add an additional template. Now, these are the job templates that I can pull through to the quote, which essentially will outline the detail that are already configured. And what we do recommend is really spending time in that implementation process, setting up these templates properly so that you don't have to retype the information when you're quoting a client through to invoicing the client out at the end. And we'll show that through today's example as well. So I'll apply an additional template. We'll use the annual Superfund compliance template. I'll save that. We'll see the detail of that flow through now to the quote, which we can then send out to our client. And we can edit this if we need to, but using that template is really going to speed up this process. We can go ahead and issue and print. Now, when I'm going to issue and print this, I can also set up templates for my engagement letters, we have a 50% upfront so that we can have some of this paid prior to completing the work. And once we go ahead and print, we'll see that engagement letter that we're sending out to the client. Now note, you can customize these so that you can maybe add your additional terms and conditions for your Superfund clients into this engagement letter before sending it out. We can also email it directly to the client from within XPM, or we can export it to PDF or Word and send it out to the client from there as well. Now, once we've sent this to the client, we can utilize the quote manager here in the top left, just clicking on the click link, but it's also accessible here under the business tab. We can just see an overview of all of our fixed price quotes, estimates, and engagement letters all in one place. Now, I'm just going to use the filtering here to be able to bring up the most recent quote. We can see the one we created here just at the top. And when I open up that quote, we know the client is happy to move forward and they've accepted. So we'll just click that here in the bottom right. And once we accept the quote, that's going to turn it into a live job. So what we see on screen here, flowing through directly from that quote, we don't have to really retype any of the information. All of that's coming through for us. We can select a state and we can customize these states for our practice as well, essentially tracking the work through to completion. And we can even set up email notifications so that staff are notified when jobs move to another state in terms of maybe what specific work needs to be completed at that point in time. We can further link this to categories. So this will integrate with our Xero file. So if we're using Xero for our own practice, we can set up tracking categories and essentially link that to, in this case, service arm and manager. So if I want to maybe link this to SMSF, NEM, that's going to be able to be tracked in our own Xero Blue file if we maybe want to pull a P&L, and that's associating with the manager, Naomi McDonald. Below that, we have our schedule information. So we'll say that we're starting the job today and maybe it's due just before the end of the month. And we'll assign the staff responsible for the job as well. Now that I've gone ahead and saved the job, we see that same information flowing through, but more importantly, we can set up milestones in that template as well if we would like, which essentially is a really great way to be able to track and ensure that our team is sticking to the delivery schedule that we promised our client. And below that, more importantly, are the tasks. So this is what's coming through from that template. We don't have to type out any of the common work that's getting completed with a Superfund compliance job. All of that information is displaying here for us. And it just ensures that we're maintaining consistency amongst our jobs and making sure that none of the work is being missed. We can also click into these. So for example, maybe the tax return prep, we can update the labeling here. We can allocate staff of maybe who is to complete the work for the tax return, and we can save that. So we can always add additional tasks on top of what's provided within the template as well, and be able to track that as we go along. Now, one thing to note as well is directly within the job, we can create a new return, which essentially will link for our clients that we're utilizing Xero Tax for as well. So we can associate that tax return that we might be completing here directly to the job as well. But now that we've gone ahead, we've set up our job, we can go ahead and have our staff, as they're completing the work, assign their time. So they'll do this through timesheet entries, and there's a number of ways that we can enter time through XPM. From any screen within XPM, we can utilize the timer function here in the top right. So essentially what this allows us to do is we can enter in chunks of time on the fly. So maybe if I just type in an hour, I can search for the client. I can search for the job and the task. So let's just say maybe we spend an hour on the tax return. We can go ahead and save that from here. We can also have the timer running in the background, and something that just allows us to get a really accurate depiction of how much time staff are spending on specific tasks before allocating it as well. We can also do so from the dashboard. So really helpful to be able to enter time here and be able to submit our timesheets for the week as well. And we can see that our dashboard will update along the way, with that additional hour allocating to our Wednesday time as well. Now, one thing to note as well with the timer function here, it is identical within the mobile app. So another really good tip, if you want staff to be able to allocate time on the fly, they can use the mobile app in Android or iOS as well. Now that we're entering time, we're completing the work that is required. Outside of the job itself, we may want to just see an overview of how the practice is tracking in terms of the jobs that we have on as a whole. So what we can use in that sense is under the business tab here, we do have, or rather, sorry, under the jobs tab here, we have the job manager. So another really helpful tip here is for job managers or accountants, they can use the My tab here to be able to see a breakdown of all their ongoing jobs, the ones that they're managing. They can see here and just how they're tracking with the different states that are appearing, the start, the due dates, as well as the progress bar showing how much time has been allocated to those jobs. And any of the ones in red would be the ones that are overdue, and I might want to start chasing up. Now, as a manager, or as a partner within the practice, I can also use the Managed By tab. Super helpful to see a breakdown also of not only the unallocated work that I may need to allocate out to my staff members, but I also can see a breakdown by each individual staff member and how they're tracking on the jobs that they are completing. Another really great tip here as well is that we can set up notifications so that the job managers are notified when the progress of the job hits a certain percentage. So if maybe 50% of the job has been completed, we can get an email sent to the staff members just so they know roughly how much time they've been spending on their jobs. Really helpful to be able to minimize write-offs, to be able to stick to the budget. So now that we can go ahead, we can track our jobs from our job manager. We'll also take a look at our WIP manager. Now this is just under business. We have our work in progress listed here as well. And the WIP manager, it allows us to really view, analyze, and filter our WIP. So very similar to the client list, we can create filtering here as well based on different types of work that we're completing. We can also see it in a list view. So a really great way to be able to see all of our jobs listed for the practice. And we can use the search functionality to be able to look at different types of WIP and jobs as well. So in this example, I might just even pull up the group that our super fund is a part of. And this just might be a way that before invoicing out the job, I want to take a look and just make sure there isn't any time entries that may have been incorrectly allocated to any of the other jobs being completed within this group. So for example, here, maybe this annual tax compliance being completed for Kerr Pty Ltd. I can jump in. I can even just take a look here under the financial tab at the estimated billings, and just gives me insight into the tasks by date, just to make sure, again, that there aren't any missing timesheets that may have been incorrectly allocated. But now that I'm happy for what's been entered into the job, we can go ahead and invoice this out to the client. So once we've allocated the correct time, we've completed all of the work, I am just going to jump into a job here with the global search function in the top right. That is the very same one that we were looking at earlier, just completed. So what we can see here with our job, as I scroll through, the tasks are completed. We can see staff members assign a certain time that they were allocated to complete. We can see they've stuck relatively close to the time allocations, a little under time here, which is great to see, but we're happy to go ahead and complete this job and invoice it out. Now to do so from the job, I can go to the financial tab here and we can just select new final invoice. Now what we can see here is we can base it on our actual time and cost or our quoted or estimated time to be able to keep track based on the quote that we sent out to the client. And we can also override this with a fixed price as well. So if we did need to mark up any of the work that was completed, we can do so from here as well. So maybe I would just change this. Let's just say this was 2,500. And as we scroll through, we can see any of our write-ons here as well below. But now that we're happy to go ahead and send out this invoice to the client, I do have my XPM account integrated directly with my Xero account, which if you don't have that done as of yet, is a really great tip to help speed up that invoicing process, where once I go ahead and approve, this will automatically generate the invoice in my Xero Blue file. So the data that is being displayed on the job in XPM, those tasks, the breakdown, I don't have to retype any of that information when I'm sending the invoice out. I essentially jump into Xero Blue. Just going to refresh the screen here. We'll see that the invoice has been generated. I open it up. I see all of that same information pulled across to send out to the client. And if we have payment gateways set up within our Xero Blue file, we have the ability for clients to make payment directly when they review the invoice. So this green Pay Now option. So super helpful to add in if you haven't done so already. Really good third-party integrations with Stripe, PayPal, Go Cardless, for example, to be able to have clients make payment as soon as they receive that invoice. Now back in our Xero Blue file, another tip is if you do have clients that are on fixed price agreements, you can set up regular reoccurring invoices in Xero. And these will then flow back to XPM and sit as a WIP credit on the job that you choose. So for example, if I just go into repeating here, we should have one that we can take a look at. We'll take a look at Great White Surfing Gear here. I'll click into the repeating invoice. We can see that the job number has been entered in as the reference. So this is essentially linking it back to XPM so that the invoices can sit as that WIP credit on the job. So if I come back into XPM, I'm just going to use that global search again in the top right, that job number. We'll open up the job. And on that financial tab, we're going to see, if I scroll down, all of those invoiced amounts with our WIP credit. So as we complete that work, we can do our WIP wash up once we are completed. So this really helps out, obviously helping reduce the administrative time for invoicing our fixed price agreements. We set that up in Xero, repeating automatically, linking back to the job that we've already created in XPM as well. Now, a final tip that I want to go through today as well is through our reporting functionality. Now in XPM, you will have the ability under the reports tab here to use standard reports or the report builder to generate a number of different reports based on really any type of parameter you wish that is being tracked in XPM today. Now, one I just want to take a look at that I've already favorited is the recoverability by client group report. And essentially, I've set this up to just see a breakdown of all of our client groups and just seeing how profitable the clients that we are working for, and just using this as a review to see our overall write-on and write-offs for our different client groups. Again, reporting can go really into depth in a number of different aspects that you might be trying to pull out of XPM. Whether it's the reporting side of things, you're using XPM already and you maybe want to review your process based on the best practice that we've gone through today. Or maybe you're not using XPM as of yet and you really want to be able to start implementing this for your practice. I just recommend reach out to your account manager. They'll be able to put you in touch with the proper process to whether we need to help you implement XPM or review your current process to guide you to our best practice model. But really appreciate everyone taking the time to walk through XPM today. I'll pass it back over and we'll go through the integration side of things with BGL and XPM.
So what I'll take you through now is the current integration between BGL and XPM. So currently, the way the integration works, it'll grab the list of all the clients that you have within XPM. It'll then sync between all the contacts that you have in CAS 360, Simple Fund 360, or both products, if you have both and are looking to integrate both together. So the way the integration has been designed is that all clients and contacts that are pictured there in that diagram will be in sync. So that means that any contacts such as directors or trustees that you have within BGL will be added into XPM if they don't already exist, and vice versa. Any companies, trustees, etc., that are within XPM that are not in BGL will be automatically added as well. The design behind the integration, I guess, is really to save you time in terms of entering in multiple changes, or I should say, or a change into multiple systems. So an example use case that I've got there down below is that if you go and edit a director's address in XPM, that's automatically pulled through into CAS 360, where the necessary change documents can be actually prepared. Sorry. So I'll just show that on screen now, just jump across. So what actually happens after the initial synchronization takes place, as I said, we grab all the clients from within XPM, sync those through to CAS. We actually link those together using, I guess, the data based on the business type within XPM. So obviously, depending on different data, obviously whether it's an individual, non-individual, whether it has an ABN or not, and we match based on that criteria. So once a client and a contact within BGL is linked together, any changes in either system will automatically reflect in the other. So an example here is I can go to individual, which is myself, edit the address. And what we do with XPM is we pull all the changes every 2 hours, so that won't be instantaneously from XPM into BGL, obviously. But once that change does flow through and take place, and you're within CAS 360, you receive a notification, as you can see there on the top right-hand corner, that the address change has come through. So with that address change, I can either just save it if it's something that does not require forms to be prepared, or where I do need to prepare the forms, I can go through and prepare the necessary ASIC documents. So in here, I guess the beauty of that too is that within CAS 360, it'll also have a look and see if there's any other contacts that have that same address and ask you, would you like to update those as well? So in this case, I'm just going through and preparing address change for myself. So let's go through and do that. Okay, so I'm just going to this one here. Okay, so I've got just a date error, sorry. But the other integration level we do have is that any change documents you are preparing from within CAS 360, you have the ability also to create a job in XPM. So let's say it was if it's a reoccurring compliance job, you may have a recurring job set up. However, if it's an ad hoc request and you want to go through and create that ad hoc job, you do have the ability there to flag that and push that through into XPM as well and set that up. So you can see from here, I'll be able to go through and prepare the necessary things. With the templates, you'll be able to pull through any template, and we search for any template which has the name BGL and go through and select the prepare necessary one, staff, etc., and that'll push through back into XPM. Okay, so the same is, I guess, within the integration, if the same individual is contained within CAS and Simple Fund, the context and address or name, we push through directly the other way. We jump, back into PowerPoint. Something which I won't demonstrate, but just mention is currently between Simple Fund and Xero Tax, we have the ability to manually export the completed SMSF annual return and import that straight into Xero Tax, ready for lodgement as well. So both teams have been working to, I guess, improve this process and make it an automated solution. So we don't have an exact date for the launch yet, but what that will mean at a later point, you'll be able to click that button and that'll automatically push the return directly into Xero Tax, ready for review and lodgement. Okay, so with our current client management integration, we get a lot of feedback there from our customers. So I'd like to show, I guess, our common ones there on screen. So we have a lot of requests, rather than being two-way, as I've shown just before. A lot of firms would like this to be one-way in terms of XPM being the source of truth, and only that pushing details. I guess firms would like more control over whether new clients are inserted into any products. There's a request for relationships, all the relationships within BGL to be synced through into XPM. Different entity types for those addresses to be part of the scope. At the moment, there's no transparency in terms of the history in terms of the changes we've made. And currently we only sync the physical address. So again, request to sync both the physical and postal address. So our team's been busy working on a version 2 of the integration. So this will be hopefully available, what we're hoping is during November this year. So hopefully we can meet that day. And what that'll pull is a little bit of a different model. So this will grab both the contacts and the entities out of each of the systems. However, it'll only synchronize the contacts together. So it will never insert any missing ones unless you select them to. So you'll have complete control over what gets inserted into each individual system. That being said, for any changes to any link clients, again, you'll have the ability whether that a change will automatically update from one system to the other, or whether you'd like that to be, for example, one way, as we've seen some of the requests. So what we'll have is, I guess, some new screens that you'll see as part of our practice management integration. So you'll have the ability there to have some more finer controls over the XPM integration. So you can see in this screenshot here, down the bottom, you've got the ability of selecting which one you'd like to update in terms of the other. So the example before of the directed change coming through, would you like that to automatically update BGL from XPM or not? Or would you like it to go the other way or not? And you'll have the ability to, as I said, have those finer controls. What we'll also present is a integrated client list. So what this will show is a list of all your clients from Simple Fund 360, CAS 360, and XPM. You can see in the 5th column there, and this is obviously just fake data, but you'll be able to see which system each of those clients exist in. You're able to filter on those. So for example, you'll be able to get a list of trusts which don't exist in CAS 360 and be able to push in any of the missing ones you'd like, or vice versa. Let's say you could view any clients which exist in BGL, but not in XPM. And again, select which ones you'd like to push through or not. So again, having complete control over that. Any changes that do push through or any discrepancies, you'll be able to receive notifications on that and be able to either edit the details on here or actually either approve the change, I should say, or be able to make direct edits to the data fields, depending on what you'd like to achieve. So as you can see there, we will highlight any discrepancies and you're able to view the full history down below of any of the changes that do take place. So this, as I said, what we are hoping with this, the version 2 of the integration, that this will be available during November this year. So look out for some, I guess, further details with those. So the example of what we had before, a little bit different, but let's say a company address was updated in XPM. BGL will receive that updated address. And if you have the auto update turned off, you'll be flagged for review before it's added into CAS 360. Otherwise, if you have the auto update turned on, the 404 will be automatically created and you will just receive the notification there within CAS as well. So you'll have that ability to have, I guess, those finer controls and the ability and I guess more control over what clients are inserted into either system. So it'd be pretty exciting once it is available.
Yeah, absolutely. Any additional questions that you guys might have, or if you want to get in contact with myself or really anybody on the implementation team, definitely just recommend reaching out to your Xero account manager. They'll be able to put you in touch with the correct resources just to make sure that if you didn't get an answer today, we can get that information across to you or even help you just get set up on XPM for our best practice.
Yeah, and likewise at BGL, if you reach out to your account manager, they can put you in touch with the necessary person in our team. Or if you reach out to integrations@bglcorp.com.au, that our team there will take you through the integrations process if you are interested. We'll put the contact details for all those in an email to all attendees for today. But Jared, thank you for your time today, and Jason, and thank you for all attendees today.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Cool. Thank you, everyone.
See you later.